Thanks for tuning in to another show in the Next Reel family of film podcasts.
Want to skip those ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it.
I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to the Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Shadow is over. How will you survive without firm steps? Will we ever know? No, because everybody dies.
It sounds like a workout regimen.
It does.
You
It's
must
like,
have firm steps.
Yeah, it's like jazzercise and Taibo and then firm steps.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. This is Shadow, and it came out after The Great Wall. Remember The Great Wall?
I remember we had a lot more fun with it. And it's easy to laugh at now, but we still had fun with it. And I actually want to go back and revisit it because my memory now is that it's an easy one to make fun of. But I'm like, but I think we still liked it.
I think it's actually it was such a Hollywood disappointment, right? And unfortunately, that's what's remembered by it, about it. And I think the problem was not that Matt Damon was bad, but that Matt Damon was in it. And it was kind of shocking to people, and it became laughable before people even saw the movie. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in that movie, if I remember. And we had fun, even though we were kind of mad at it at the time. So this movie, anyway, was an apology, I think, for The Great Wall.
The Great Wall, as we talked about in that episode, was Zhang Yimou being wooed, perhaps, by Hollywood to kind of try making something that might... we could say work as a sort of crossover film between kind of like the Chinese audiences, the U.S. audiences. I mean, it was written by Max Brooks, Edward Zwick, Tony Gilroy, Marshall Herskovitz. Like a lot of people with names that we recognize were involved in writing the script for The Great Wall, and Universal released it over here. So it was Zhang's chance to try doing something that was going to maybe perhaps move him in the direction of other international filmmakers who have had a chance to make something in the U.S. Oftentimes, those don't always work out so well. So that was his shot, and then he immediately went back to do Shadow because I guess he needed to get something to, again, show I can actually make a great movie that's going to make some money. And that's where we are. So here we are with Shadow.
And here we are. Now, you had not seen it. I watched it a few weeks ago and have been just waiting for you to watch it because I just can't wait to hear what you think about what he accomplished with this film.
It's a fascinating film. And I mean, it's interesting to see Zhang Yimou in this period of his career. And to be fair, like, Zhang has a fairly robust filmography, lots of films, and I feel like I've only hit a lot of the more big ones, and I feel like I need to watch a lot more of his work to really get a sense as to the ebbs and flows of of what he's doing, because this feels like his early career felt like he was making more intimate stories about people in, oftentimes women in difficult situations, because of just the nature of China and how it was structured and how they treated women. And then starting with Hero, which we have talked about on this show, in 2002, he seemed to shift into not just the wuxia and types of films, like the big action spectacle, the gorgeous, sumptuous production design, cinematography, the costumes, everything came together to tell these massive stories. But also, it really seemed to be a shift for him to start pushing to tell more historical sorts of stories. I mean, Hero, House of Flying Daggers, maybe not The Great Wall so much, but certainly this film are all pulling from historical elements in Chinese history. It's not necessarily made to be like true stories per se, but they are elements of actual Chinese history. And I wonder if like that shift in his push to to tell these sorts of stories, whether it's wuxia or not. Like a few years before this, he also did The Flowers of War with Christian Bale, and that also felt less wuxia, more historical action, I suppose you could say. But it felt like he was wanting to tell these stories. I don't know. How do you read it? Is he doing it because we know, as we've talked about on the show, he's gotten in trouble with some films in the past where he's been banned from filmmaking for a number of years, or the film itself has been banned for long periods of time. Now he's in this period, and I'm like, is he just doing this because he knows these are safe and he knows that he can do shadow and make money with it? I don't know. But it's like, I love that we're in this period of his career where he's doing these action spectacles, where he's digging into interesting elements of Chinese history, and he uses them as opportunities to display just how powerful and creative a filmmaker he is. And that's really what we get with this movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. I feel like this is a really obvious observation, given this movie, especially backing up to the movie we just talked about, House of Flying Daggers. I see Yimou as someone who wants to live in dynamic range, right? And it's easy to look at dynamic range from the perspective of color palette, right? Because this movie has an extreme dynamic range, as extreme as the dynamic range in House of Flying Daggers or Hero. It's just the other direction, right? It's just removing and desaturating all the color from the film, but also character, right? He's very much looking at narratives and stories of people who live at the extremes of one end or another, culturally, tonally, temporally, and even with regard to color. You look at To Live, he's looking at characters who are on the fringes, not in sort of the moneyed middle or the really rich, but the moneyed middle is kind of the muddy place that he doesn't exist. He's looking at people who are impoverished intentionally because of the state changes over the course of time. Fascinating story. We get into wuxia and it celebrates with color, but he's showing that, look, we can also celebrate wuxia style, and we can do it in a way that you've never seen before, but it's still wuxia. I think what I wanted was maybe a little bit more. There's so much in this movie that works for me. Let me just say that. I really enjoy my time with this movie. I think it's super clever. I love the umbrellas. We've got to talk about umbrellas. I love the cinematography. The choice to shoot not digitally desaturating, but to shoot in black and white is excellent. I think it's kind of a gimmick having our principal character lose weight. Like, I get it. I'm not sure the movie was made dramatically better by that conceit, rather than just put him in a different outfit or something. I think they could have handled that. Maybe that was a bridge too far, but generally the movie really works for me, and I also found myself wanting a little bit more in terms of the story, or maybe a little bit more, Park Chan-wook, right? By the end, I wanted more old boy as these guys as we have the retribution angle take hold. And I got, I didn't get quite enough of the grit that I wanted. It's still a pretty clean film narratively. It's pretty straightforward, and I wanted a little bit more, a little bit more grit. But overall, I had a blast watching this thing. It's every frame is just an act of cleverness in putting this together, and it is, to me, it's vastly better than Dagger for that reason alone. I just enjoyed looking at something really different in the wuxia space. So that's where that's a lot of things.
Well, just to clarify, because you said they shot it in black and white. They didn't shoot it in black and white. They shot it in color.
No, I know they didn't. No, I didn't say that.
It sounded like you said they shot it in black and white.
No, if it sounded like that to you, I did not intend that. I'm very aware that they shot it in color and they desaturated the set. And I said specifically that they didn't desaturate digitally is an act of great creativity, right? It's amazing how they did this. So and so committed to the bit. I think it's awesome.
Well, not taking it even further than that, where the sets were completely designed black, white, and gray. The costumes were designed black, white, and gray. Every time they're outdoors, Zhang Yimou purposefully made sure that they were filming on rainy, overcast days to drain the color further from the environment and everything. And so every time, like this, it's raining through the entire movie. Like it's always wet in this entire story, and that further drains all the color. And it's great to see, like, yeah, there are a few shots where you can see like trees in the distance. You can get a hint of the green there, but it's really very muted. And that's what they do. They purposefully make it so that you're just not seeing, other than like skin tones. And the big one though is blood. Like
So much blood.
we're definitely seeing all of the blood. They don't necessarily desaturate the reds for any of the blood. And so I think that was a very creative design to kind of tell the story this way, where in a story about a shadow, about a doppelganger, doppelganger is probably the wrong word, but a lookalike, we'll just say, we're telling this story that, and again, he wanted it to look like Chinese ink wash paintings, but using this secret body double where he's living in the shadows, all of this, like telling a story that has this tone, I thought was actually incredibly creative, kind of creating this unique monochromatic look through the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean there's a lot to celebrate, and that's what I mean. Like it's so fun to look at that it's easy to get lost in the movie, and that's okay. That's enough. It's already enough movie for me before the umbrellas come out, and and the story of the girl teaching, teaching gentleness as a way to be offensive in battle. Like all of that, it really works for me. But it was already good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting story. And again, this is kind of based on, the script is based on, there was a TV series called Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which is based on a 14th century novel, which is called one of the four great classical novels of Chinese literature, which itself is based on something from 3rd century historical records. There was a TV series that was based on the book back in 2010, and this screenplay is loosely based on that. So these characters in the story do map to real characters in this Three Kingdoms history of the invasion of the Jing province, is kind of what we're seeing in the story here. And so to that end, there's a lot of palatial intrigue, of a politicking, as far as like the king of Pei. There's like these three kingdoms. It sounds like from the opening crawl, two of the kingdoms, the one run by Yang Kang and the one run by King Pei, have destroyed the third kingdom, and now it's just these two. And so we're coming in at this point where it's just kind of like the two of them, as they're kind of like each striving to run the Jing province. In the scope of the story, where we're following this shadow, who is shadowing, we should just say, the commander of that works under King Pei. He looks enough like him to take care of like all of the stuff that has to happen, because the real commander had been injured by Yang Kang with I don't know, some sort of poisoned dagger, like a Nazgul blade. I'm not sure
Yes.
what he was wielding.
That's
but
good.
He got pierced, and it's made him age, and he's like decrepit and falling apart. And so now he's had this shadow in his life since they were children. I want to talk about that because there's a lot of questions I have about that element of the story. But now this shadow, who is posing as the commander, is kind of making decisions on his own, as far as like essentially declaring war, not in so many words, but declaring war against Yang Kang so that they can get back get the Jing city back, by saying, let's have a duel. We're going to have a duel. Whoever wins gets the city, is basically what happens. And King Pei is incredibly pissed off. So I don't know, how does all it's very Shakespearean, like all of this grand political machinations of trying to run these two kingdoms. How does that all play for you? Does it work? Does it make sense? Do we get enough for our understanding?
It's interesting to hear the way you ask that question, because I do not know how you would answer the same question. To me, it is, I mean, if you've seen Hamlet, you kind of are able to truck with the dynamic a little bit, right? That this is the shadow, the sun, the liege ends up subverting the puppet-handed leadership or the puppeteering leadership. And I think that's the whole story. I'm sick of this relationship. I'm sick of bidding, and I'm going to go ahead and, you've put my face in the role of, agency here, and now I'm going to take it. That's it. That's the emotional arc and does that serve as an able audience avatar? Do you feel stronger as an audience member watching that happen? And to me, I think it plays. And this is all of this plays out in kind of, again, speaking of muddy things, there's a muddy middle of this movie that I think a lot of critics say slows the thing down. It plays for me. I actually was right along with it. I think the political angle is the one that I found myself trucking right along with. I'm interested in it, and it makes the duel on the platform, which is a long duel, one of import that means something to the overall arc of the film. It's not empty because we're watching this guy take what is his, if you believe that it's his.
Well, and it's interesting. The shadow element is such an interesting element added to the story. From what I can tell, I have not read Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but from my cursory,
I'm shocked.
I'm sorry, I'm not up on my 14th century Chinese historical literature. But my understanding is that this whole conceit of a shadow of this dual character is something that Zhang Yimou and his screenwriter came up with. It's not drawn from history. And I think part of it is that the idea of, let's just say, the yin-yang Tai Chi symbol, I think it's the Tai Chi symbol, right? Is that what you call it? I think they were calling it like, there's a Tai Chi symbol down there. I think they were calling it that. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, the yin-yang symbol, we'll just say, is prevalent in the story. And the idea of yin and yang is prevalent in the story. You've got the masculine and you've got the feminine. That's kind of part of the nature of this yin-yang element, right? Where yin is yielding, feminine, and fluid. Yang is aggressive, dominant, masculine. But you can also look at yin-yang as the real figure and the shadow figure. You can look at it as the overt attempts to take over a kingdom and the covert attempts to take over a kingdom. And I'm sure throughout the film there are many more examples of yin-yang. But my impression is that bringing a shadow into the story as something that is fictionalized is part of this yin-yang element that Zhang Yimou wanted to do. And I think that it makes for an interesting story as it leads into particularly that fight that we have between Jing and Yang Kang on this giant floating, might as well just call it, giant floating Trojan horse is what essentially it is.
That's what it is.
With an enormous yin-yang symbol, like, designed into the top surface. It's fascinating the way that plays, but I am curious how the nature of the actual shadow works for you in the story.
What do you mean? The nature of the shadow?
We have this commander who named Ziyu, I think is his name, who had been injured. But we learn that he has had this shadow since he was a child. His uncle found, the way the story goes, his uncle found a lost kid, and instead of tracking down his mother to return him to her, he says, you look awfully like my nephew. I'm going to kidnap you and raise you as his shadow, just in case? Like, what is the intention there?
He's like an organ harvester for the wealthy. He's like a blood boy.
He never uses him until like this point in time when I think he's only been out and about now for about a year since since Ziyu got injured. And
So where did they keep him?
Yeah, and he was just like living in this wet cave all of this time and training. Like I was trying to figure out like what is the intention of that? I mean, I get it. Like, okay, take a movie like Akira Kurosawa made a movie in I think 1980, Kagemusha, Shadow Warrior, about a king who has a shadow, and the shadow goes out and does things in case there's an assassination attempt. Then he has, somebody to take care of him. In this film, it's like, it's the commander. He's not a king. Why does it matter? Like, I couldn't figure out. Like, that was the question that I was scratching my head about this whole time. I'm like, why is this guy feel like he needs to have a shadow?
A double.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is it because there is unspoken canon that somehow this commander was making a run for higher power and he just wanted to be ready since he was a child?
He kind of does. I mean, that's how it ends.
That's how it ends.
I mean, presumably, we don't actually see, but it seems like, okay, it seems like Jing can now be king.
Yeah. It's not like Jing, heads off into the sunset, lonely warrior, abdicating all responsibilities.
Right. So, but did I guess that was Ziyu's intention. I mean, we do find out that Ziyu's intention, again, this is very spoiler heavy. If you haven't seen this, you should watch the movie first. But Ziyu's intention, as we find out, has always been to use the shadow as needed and then dispose of him, never release him from his duties, as it were, to dispose of him, and it seems like take over. I mean, his intentions are, as we find out, to kill the king, to kill the shadow, and to usurp the throne. So maybe that is why, but still, that's a long, long game. That's like Emperor Palpatine long game.
So this is the longest con. Yeah, right. It's a generational long con. That works for me because it works for me. Let's say when I say it works for me, I'm putting "works for me" in quotes. Like it works for me as well as the love triangle in House of Flying Daggers. Like this is the melodrama that we have, and it is written writ large in the throne room at the end when masks come off and heads are not in boxes where they're supposed to be, and all this stuff kind of plays out. This is the final love triangle equivalent of this movie, and I like it. I like the political melodrama that we get on this big stage. I think it's earned, although it's a little bit forehead slappy. It's okay. It's okay. If you buy into that, if that's rewarding, then you have bought into the fact that this is a generational long con and we're just going to be on board.
I think that's where it is. And I mean, I can complain about that all day long because it's one of those things that it just doesn't make that much sense, especially with this poor guy who seems like the only sane person in the bunch, really. Our fair commander here, Jing, who seems like a good guy. He is obviously wanting to go home to his mother. He's wanting to see an improved kingdom. All of this sort of stuff. Clearly our protagonist of the story. And I think with all of that, it makes for an interesting journey to kind of watch him go through the motions. And I think in the scope of our character needing to kind of like have his growth and figure out who he is over the course of the story, I do think that it works. I may have questions about the shadow element, but he, as a character, does show some change of the story. He recognizes, I am more than just this shadow. I can be more than this than Ziyu. I can I recognize that King Pei is an idiot, and we need to also at the same time take back the Jing province. And so I like seeing him kind of have those moments of recognition, and it builds to a very satisfying conclusion at the end, but kind of in that final confrontation between King and commander and the secret commander, all of that works quite well.
I think
And
you just said it though. That sentence, the king and the commander and secret commander, like that's why we're slapping foreheads at the same time.
Yes, exactly. And then on top of it, there's a love story, and it ends up being a love triangle because Commander Ziyu's wife has to pose. She's the only other person who knows about this shadow, and she has to pose as if he is her wife or her husband. And she ends up kind of having moments where she feels more connected to this guy. And as we see, they end up, sleeping together. She's trying to comfort him, and they end up sleeping together. And Ziyu, of course, is peeking through his little peek holes in the walls and watches all of this, getting very upset. And the film starts and ends with her moment of the kind, we'll just say her decision point. Is she going to reveal that this guy is a shadow, or is she going to say, that is my husband and I'm standing by his side? And the person who he killed, who's laying next to the dead king, is the assassin, and never bring up the fact that it's her actual husband. Like, that makes for there's an interesting story going on here. And I do like all of these bits of politics and Shakespearean high drama, all of this. I think it plays, even if I do have questions.
Yeah, where do you stand on Qing Ping's arc? She is Mulan in this story. And ultimately meets with a pretty dark end.
Well, I mean, Qing Ping, the princess you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. She's sold by her brother. She'll have none of that. She puts on armor. She stows away with the strike force in the Trojan palette and fights in the city, and ultimately kills Ying Ping with a dagger after he wounds her, and she dies in the city that she just helped to take.
Yeah. I enjoyed her arc as another of our, as one of our two female characters. I enjoyed her arc. I thought it was a nice journey for her to see. Because again, she also, I think, recognized that her brother was an idiot. Like, everybody recognizes that her brother is an idiot, but she's just stuck because, again, she's a woman. And in the situation that she's in as the sister to the king, she has very little say to do anything or make any change. And so her first decision is to prevent the assassination of, I think, both Jing and Tianzan, the new commander that replaces Jing once the king strips him of his rank and turns him into a commoner. And she says, you know what, don't kill anybody. I will take the dagger and become the Yang Ping's concubine. All the time, though, again, covertly deciding, not really. I am going to join this strike team, and I'm going to actually fight to take back Ping City or Jing City.
She's interesting because she's like, that's her entire arc, right? There's like no interior motivation. There's no reveal. There's no double. She is maybe the only character in the film who is straightforwardly what she appears to be, right? The whole time. And, I watch this thing and I think, okay, is she plot fuel? Does she just exist in the movie to motivate the strike force and take out Yang Ping and in I guess a cinematic beat that the dramatic duel can't live up to? Does she just die so that the rest of the carnage in the city and beyond feels, totally comprehensive? Or is she the case of what happens when one character in this movie refuses to play the role that the yin and the yang are asking of everybody else, right? She's just pure yang. There's no shadow and no waiting for 3 years, and she just acts, and then she kills, and then she dies for it. And that's it. And it's very simple. In some case, every character in a film is a tool for the plot. But in this case, I think she is if she is a tool for the plot, she's more rewarding for me than just plot armor. I think she is. I think she's an interesting character to watch.
Yeah, I agree as well. Let's talk more about that, but first take a quick break, shall we? You can find the show on YouTube, and you can join us live when we record. We'll even take your questions in the post-show chit-chat, and members get the full post-show conversation and always know what to listen to next. Subscribe to The Next Reel on YouTube. The link to this episode is in the show notes. We'll be right back.
You know what the Next Reel family of film shows actually is? It's not just shows you keep up with. It's a place you come back to.
The Next Reel's film-by-film conversations, CinemaScope's deep dives into movements and genres, the film board on whatever's in theaters, Movies We Like's craft conversations, Sitting in the Dark's horror breakdowns. It's all here, waiting.
If that sounds like how you already spend your time browsing, discovering, going back to something you bookmarked months ago, consider becoming a member.
For $5 a month or $55 a year, you get early ad-free access to all 5 shows a full week before they go public, plus exclusive bonus content that doesn't live anywhere else.
Think of it as your library card. Head to truestory.fm/join. That's TRUSTORY.fm/join. And sign up today.
The Next Reel family of film shows. The conversation is already here. Come find your next film. So you were asking about Qingping and her role. And I think what's great about her as a character is that I do think that there is more to her. There is more to her than just throwing her into armor and secretly sending her off to war. I think that it adds to more of the intrigue and the complications that are arising because of everything going on, and just shows how strong of a character she is, and that she is not going to just idly sit by and let her idiot brother run the Pei kingdom into the ground by essentially always yielding to Yang Kang. She is going to actually stand and fight, and if that means that she dies doing so, then she's going to. But what I love about her character is that there is this political acceptance, I guess we'll call it, of saying in front of her brother, fine, I will accept Yang Ping's request to have me as his concubine, not as a wife. Like, that was the initial ask. We're going to make you his wife. I would rather have her as my concubine. If she's my concubine, then we can have peace, is basically what Yang Ping and his dad say. She says, politically, fine, we'll do that. Meanwhile, there's still this whole duel going on. But covertly, her intentions are never to let that idly stand by. And I love that about her. Like, she actually goes into battle to specifically face Yang Ping. And as she says, I came to give you this, because the gift was a dagger, and here she is giving him the fatal blow with the dagger that he had given in exchange for her as concubine. So I thought it played really well. I enjoyed it.
I do too. And I said, I guess it's a little bit disingenuous to say she's the only character who chooses without strategy, because she clearly had strategy. She just feels like she's living more in the moment than anybody else. Everybody else is doing this generational game of one-upmanship, and she's just like, I'm going to respond to the next thing in front of me. And I find that a rewarding character trait. Is in a movie full of snakes, she gets to be something reactive. She's Ricky Tikki Tavi.
Well, I mean, how does she play versus Chow Kao? I'm not sure how you say it. The wife, Commander's wife. Is it Chow? I don't know the X and the Q. XIAO.
Chow. That seems like we're going to get into pronunciation.
We're getting into trouble with our pronunciation here, but yeah. But she is.
What do you, compared to the wife, what do you think about her?
I was talking about her as an interesting character because we start and end the film with her at that decision point. Like, the film starts over black and the titles, but we're hearing everything that happens at the end as she screams at the dead bodies. She runs across the courtroom and she goes to the door. She's about to fling it open because she knows that Jing is out there again, posing as commander, and says, "The king is dead. One of his men was an assassin. I immediately killed him." And we know he's already also killed Yang Kang. So presumably that means that he's king now. Like, he is now the one who kind of controls all of this stuff. And we know that Tian Zhan, who had been the new commander, who supports him, even though he was a believer of the old commander and stood by his side, Tian Zhan recognized that the old commander was pretty crazy. He kind of gone off the deep end and was a little loopy. And this new commander, he was going to stand by his side. And so that, I don't know, the way that I read it was, okay, Jing is likely going to be king now, but it's all up to the wife. And like, that's the decision point that starts and ends the film. Is she going to actually announce that he is a traitor and a double, or is she going to stand by his side? I think it plays interestingly. I mean, I assume she's going to stand by his side. I don't know why at that point she would. I mean, she's stood by her husband's side all of these years, and she's only had that one moment, we'll just say, of philandering where she ends up, to comfort him, they end up sleeping together. So I don't know. I mean, how did you read all of that with her?
Oh, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like she has less to do. Like, it's interesting that we open and close the film with her because it makes her feel like she's got more of an arc. I think she doesn't have a whole lot of craft to the film. Like, we don't get to see. I don't feel like we have much of an interior to her. She certainly doesn't have as much to do as Xing Ping, and that's why my eye just always goes toward Xing Ping as a character. Feels a little bit empty and just sort of placeholdery in the palace intrigue.
Interesting. I guess I read more with her because she is truly in this position where she's stuck between wanting to support her husband, her actual husband, wanting to see success. I mean, she's the one who comes up with the idea. What if he uses feminine, movements instead of masculine?
Yeah, she does the teaching scene for sure.
Like, she's the one who actually recognizes that there are other ways to take on a battle, because as we see in the training montages, when Jing is training with the commander, he can't win using his aggressive techniques. And by switching to these feminine movements with the umbrella, he actually is able to find a way through the offense and to actually turn it into a win. And so all of that, and I think she has those moments of connection, and that moment, those conversations with him about how he has just always been scared and he's afraid of the dark and he has the recurring nightmare and things like that. And then she goes to see him because they have to pose even with the servants. Like, the servants come, make the beds, and they say, "You're dismissed." And then he goes and sleeps on the floor outside the hallway. And that one night, she happens to come out there to check on him, and he's just like curled in a ball in a corner crying. And so, I don't know. I think there's more to her. And I think that she's recognizing the harm that her husband is doing and that slow growth of sympathy that we see. I don't know. For me, I read a lot more with her character because of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, we get the sort of angry woman set piece in the end, and I do think it's interesting to compare these two because I feel like almost Xing Ping sort of escapes from the box that Xiao Chao was in the first place, or takes her place in the box. There's a box swapping going on between these two young noblewomen, and the film sort of gives one of them everything and the other one nothing, and there is something to that this woman ends the film having lost everything but keeping her life, and the other one loses her life but ends up in otherwise a redemptive arc by retaking the city or being a part of that. So I think that's an interesting puts them in an interesting sort of slightly parallel tracks.
Although that actually is interesting because when it comes to Xiao Chao, her story is essentially one of watching her husband deteriorate into insanity, and then a replacement steps in and becomes the good husband that she used to have. Presumably, we never see him that way, and the choice is to say, "Oh, you know what? I finally have." We'll just say my husband back, and I can finally live with somebody who I believe in again.
You're right. This is a personality litmus test, because you're right. We don't actually ever see it. Is this a happy ending for Xiao Qiao, that she gets a hunky young lad as a husband and loses the poisoned older nonsense person? Or is it sad because she actually still had feelings for the original?
I think that, I don't know, the way that it seemed is that she seemed committed to the original because it was her actual husband. But again, the poison had affected more than just his body. It seemed to have affected his mind. So maybe, I don't know. I like to think that she's getting back essentially what she once had. And
this is essentially the Bachelorette palace intrigue.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We should talk about umbrellas at some point. Do you want to talk about the umbrellas for a minute?
Can we please talk about umbrellas? Andy, these umbrellas are my favorite thing because, first of all, let me tell you, these don't exist. These are not based on a historically accurate weapon in Chinese history. I tried. I wanted them to exist so badly. They are so cool and so flamboyant, and they absolutely fit the arc of the martial art of that is being taught. They're also nonsense weapons, and I think everyone who uses them would be covered in cuts from these things. So if you haven't seen the movie, what are you doing here? But really, the umbrella is made of like 24 very sharp arced blades that can be spun and then released. Each individual blade can be released as a, dare I say, a flying dagger to use as a ranged weapon, but also it is used as a sort of a shield. It's used as a cutting tool. It is crazy. And at one point, it's even used as a top, like a spinning top. It's crazy. How much did you love the umbrellas?
Like spinning sleds.
Yeah, spinning sled
tops. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like they ride in them. They sit on one and then they hold one over their head.
Put another on top.
They go sliding down the street. It's fantastic.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
And how much did you love them?
I loved it so much. I had so much fun watching these crazy umbrellas that I'm just like, this is like like I said, like you were saying, these are the most insanely dangerous things to ever actually use, but damn, are they cool to look at. Like a spinning umbrella made of knives is basically what we have. And they are so cool. It plays so well. And again, it speaks to Zhang Yimou and his desire to tell a story in a really creative way. And again, as you said, it's not historically accurate, but so many things in this story aren't anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It's just something that looks incredibly cool. And as a weapon, it fits into this kind of black and white world really well. And to see everybody wielding them, and I don't know, I had a blast with everything going on with these crazy things. It was so cool.
I imagine them sitting around like writing this movie and having that same sort of exuberant feeling that maybe Lucas got when he was like, it's a sword, but laser.
Yeah,
like it's like I just figured out something incredibly cool and it's going to look great. If I have one, dare I say, axe to grind on this particular tool, it's a continuity thing. During the duel, he's wielding one of these on the platform, right?
Yeah.
And this is where we get the way it's used repeatedly, and it takes damage. The umbrella's blades are kind of floppy, right? They're like a sheet metal kind of a thing. And they get bent, and it makes the umbrella look so stupid after it's used at all. He's like, what are you doing, man? The umbrella is clearly broken. Pick up a sword. And I never wanted to feel pick up a sword in my heart. I wanted the umbrella to be the be-all, end-all of every fight in this movie. And it starts to look stupid after it is used. That is my only quibble with the umbrella.
That's funny.
Is I think they could have just given him a new umbrella for every action sequence. It needs to be pristine the entire time. It needs to be more rugged than it was. Don't you think? Did you notice that at all?
I didn't have that issue. No, I can see why you would feel that, but I didn't think that. I actually thought it was cool because, again, we see in the scope of how they use the umbrellas for both offense and defense, the way that they would spin them and use it to kind of catch Yang Kang's enormous, like, axe blade or whatever that weapon is that you like I don't know what kind of weapon you call that, but it was a really cool, very dangerous looking weapon that he would come swinging down, and then to see the umbrella like spin, and as it's spinning, it catches the arm of that weapon in between its blades and uses it to kind of like spin it away. Sometimes the fact that it had shot off a number of blades left those perfect gaps in it anyway to kind of catch it. And so to me, it all ended up becoming pretty useful and usable. And so I really enjoyed all of that. I didn't have any of that same gripe that you had.
This is a gripe that's clearly based on me being a guy who's spending way too much time talking about Captain America the Winter Soldier on Marvel Movie Minute, and I wanted the umbrella blades to be made of vibranium. I need a Wakandan umbrella is what I need out of this movie. Clearly, those are the eyes I brought to the film.
Yeah, you wanted one that would last forever. I get it.
Yeah. And I want him to wear it on his back, and like, there's just a whole thing. They made a lot of these umbrellas fast.
I can't remember. They said they grabbed a whole bunch of these people, like former inmates or whatever,
Convicts,
and they had them all ready to come fight for them and everything. Yeah, and every single person had not one but two umbrellas, because again, they're riding down the hill in little umbrella, like turtle shell pods, top and bottom.
That was so good. It's so good. I just imagine them like all trying to stand up and being dizzy, and guys throwing up into the ditch.
They're shooting people as they go down.
As they go down.
Are they aiming? Like, goodness.
I know. It's one of those absolutely flamboyant, frivolous action beats that so commits to the bit you can't help but just smile the entire time. It really works for me.
Yeah, it does. It plays beautifully. It really does. Let's see, what else? Any other little things with this one?
The final carnage. I mean, I guess we've talked about the final carnage. Everybody who's anybody dies. Except for, the wife and the young commander.
Except for Jing and his wife. Jing and his fake wife, yeah.
Yeah. Did all of that feel, rewarding to you, redemptive? Did everybody just need to go so they can clean slate it?
I actually thought it was really funny that the end of that whole battle. So again, we know that there's a lot of machinations afoot. Jing goes to his mother's house and finds her dead. He gets taken by troops, and presumably they're the king's troops. The king brings him in and says, "They weren't my troops. Aha, I knew that you're a shadow all along, and I've got your boss, the commander," and he has his soldier bring a box in with presumably commander's head. But no, it's empty, and the commander actually, which was so obvious, is like no surprise at all that the commander was actually wearing the armor, kills or like runs his sword through the king, who falls to the ground dying. And then he tells Jing, "Go ahead and pick that up. It's okay. You've done amazing work, and now you're going to be rewarded." And Jing goes to pick up the thing, and he knows that the commander is going to kill him, so he kills the commander instead. He stages this whole thing, but what made me laugh out loud is he goes to the dying king, and he says, because he presumably is on the side of the king. Now that he's killed the commander, he goes to the king and says, "Don't worry, I've always been on your side," something like that. He says, "Let me get the royal doctors." And he drags the dying king next to the commander's body. He takes the commander's sword and he drives it through the king. And I'm just like, why did you even bother telling him you're going to get the royal doctor? Like, what was the point of that? This is so funny. This is don't worry, this is going to help.
Yeah. This is a cure-all. You're not going to feel anything in a minute.
Like, he's on the floor dying. He's not going to run off to do something. Like, you don't have to just kill him. Oh, man. So,
yeah. Nailing the melodrama. Again, nailing the melodrama.
Yeah. It all played in a very, very much, again, that high Shakespearean drama of everybody killing everybody and all trying to, like, one up each other. And for me, it played because, again, we are pretty much designed in this story to always be rooting for Commander. He's the guy that we like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it works.
As we get toward wrapping up here, how does this land in the arc of, director Zhang films that we've talked about for you? Where does this one hit?
Well, there's so many films that he's done that I just haven't seen, but in the scope of what we've talked about, it fits very much in everything kind of that post-hero window of time where he was really telling much more epic sorts of stories, these wuxia action tales, Chinese history. It really fits into the tone of this period and what he was trying to do here. And I think without knowing all of the films, I'm sure he's doing some other. I know he has some comedies and stuff in there, but it'll be interesting to kind of try digging into some other elements. But from what our arc of, if you look at the now 7 films that he's made that we have talked about on the show, it very much starts in smaller individual stories, and then it moves into these larger action epics, and that's kind of where we end up with this one here.
Yeah. And I look at, the overall arc, and we have these, Yimou has all of the films that we're talking about here kind of hit after a big sort of era break for Yimou. And this one, the big era is post Great Wall. But the movies before, like talking about Judo and Raise the Red Lantern and Hero, it's interesting to see how this one is a more recent entry lands for me. I wonder if it's my favorite of his wuxia films. It doesn't hit in terms of the cultural films, looking at, Raise the Red Lantern and Judo and To Live. I still think those earlier films I appreciate, Raise the Red Lantern, Judo, I think I appreciate more than To Live, even though I quite liked To Live. But I was surprised that I think this one usurps Hero for me as my favorite of his collected works that we've talked about. I didn't expect that.
I would be curious if you revisited Hero, if you'd still feel the same.
Yeah, it's been a bunch of years. It's been almost 10 years since I've watched it.
I feel like Hero is probably going to still be the one that would stand out for me as the better story, the better film. I think all of them show how creative he is in putting together a visual production. I think that's just something that he excels at. And I really do enjoy this one, though. I have a great time with it, even if I do have some questions about some elements within the story.
Yeah. All right.
Well, let's move into the back half, but first, let's take a quick break.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson, music by Tsabutan, Bord and Lulu, Oriel Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show and our full archive at truestory.fm. You can follow us from there too. Plus, you can find out how to become a member and go further with every episode. Check out our merch store at thenextreel.com/merch. And if your app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show. All right, Andy, sequels and remakes. Oh, I just can't wait to see Shadow 2, more Shadow.
Right. Well, it's funny because, again, this, as we said, was based on a very, very old Chinese story, Romance of the Three Kingdoms. That has had so many adaptations, and I think that's really where things lie with this. Again, and I mentioned it, this kind of had been based on that TV series itself, but going back to that 14th century novel, which was based on records from the 3rd century, this has been made into films, TV series, manga, video games, different novels. Like, there's so many adaptations of this. Chinese manhwa, it's Korean manhwa, like all these different places, these countries have been telling this story. You could look at John Woo's film Red Cliff, which is a 2-part based on the Battle of the Red Cliffs, which is part of this epic story, The Romance of Three Kingdoms. Very many films, very many TV. And so I think if you want to dig deep into this elements of The Romance of Three Kingdoms, there are a lot of options for you.
I might. I have actually heard things of Red Cliff, the two-parter.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things. All right, how to do at award season?
This did well. 38 wins with 60 other nominations. A lot of nominations, which is to be expected for technical categories. At the Golden Horse Awards, which are a Chinese award, did really well, had a lot of nominations, nominated for feature film, but lost to An Elephant Sitting Still. Adapted screenplay also lost to An Elephant Sitting Still. Zhang Yimou won Best Director. The film also won Best Visual Effects, Art Direction, and Makeup and Costume Design. Leading actor Deng Chao was nominated but lost to Zheng Shu in Dying to Survive. Sun Li was nominated for leading actress but lost to Yin Xuan Xie in Dear X. Cinematography and film score and sound effects all were nominated but lost to a Chinese version of Long Day's Journey into Night, which I was very curious to hear that was adapted over there. And last but not least, it was nominated for Best Action Choreography but lost to Hidden Man. Over here in the States, it was nominated at the Saturn Awards, the Sci-Fi, Fantasy, and Horror Awards, for Best Director, but lost to Jordan Peele for Us. Best International Film lost to Burning. Best Production Design lost to Avengers Endgame. And Best Costume Design lost to the live-action Aladdin. So it had its wins, though. It had its wins.
Mostly out of this entire litany, I'm most excited about Chinese adaptations of Eugene O'Neill. Can we have more of that?
I'm very curious about that. Like, especially the fact that it won Best Sound Effects and Cinematography. I'm really curious to see like how they told that story. It's interesting. Yeah.
Sound effects in Long Day's Journey. What is that?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I know you're excited about the budget, so I'll just let you get to it. Go ahead, give us all the detail, all the rigorous minutia.
That's right. Well, last week's movie got my hopes up. Unfortunately, there is no budget information out there for Yimou's Shadow. The movie premiered at the Venice International Film Festival September 6th, 2018, before its May 3rd, 2019 release here in the States opposite The Intruder, Long Shot, and Ugly Dolls. This never had more than a limited release, maxing out at 53 screens. All told, it only earned $521,000 domestically. Still, it was a huge success everywhere else, going on to earn $91.2 million internationally for a total gross of $115.5 million in today's dollars. I don't know what it cost to make, but I'm going to assume that means it landed in the green.
I think that's great. Good for it. Bummer for us. More people, I think, should have seen it. It actually, I think the movie plays, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. I think it's, I don't care that they go ahead and kill every named character at the end of the movie, almost, because it's a wuxia film, and I needed bodies at the end, and that was great.
There are plenty of those, yeah. It is. I really enjoyed it. It's gorgeous. It's great seeing Zhang Yimou really pushing to create films that feel wholly unique. I love that. I love that he went the direction he did here. Again, the story's a little convoluted, but I find it very easy to forgive because this film was very engaging. I had a lot of fun with it.
How many stories of just sort of historical events like this one, based in like classic Americana, have been made into video games? I kind of can't let that go. You said that this movie's been adapted into video games, or this story has it been adapted into video games. And maybe it's because more video game developers haven't tapped the catalog of Eugene O'Neill stories.
Is that it? I don't know. I guess there's the Oregon Trail.
That is the best. International audiences, I hope you don't know what Andy's talking about, because that is pure Americana right there. Classic.
Oh, man. Yeah, a game that we were playing back when we were young. It's a very fun game.
Well done.
Good stuff.
Well done.
All right. Well, that is it for our conversation about Zhang Yimou's Shadow, and that wraps up our Zhang Yimou series for season 15. Next week, we shift gears entirely back to our Couples on the Run series with Joseph H. Lewis's Gun Crazy from 1950. Two people, a shared obsession with guns, and a romance that only ends one way. We'll see you there. And I should say, it will be our 800th episode.
Wow. Look at that. Big 800. What is the
That's
800th anniversary, I wonder?
Yeah, what do you get? What do you give someone for that?
I don't know.
All right, let's do our ratings.
Letterboxd.com/thenextreel. That's where you can find our HQ page over at Letterboxd, where we rate and review all the films we talk about across the shows of the Next Reel family of film shows. What are you going to do for this movie, Andy?
I really had fun with it. Yes, I stumble over the need for a shadow, and it made me question a lot of elements within the story. But in the end, it was easy to kind of look past all of that. I am going to put this 4 stars and a heart.
I came in at 3.5 stars and a heart. I think I'm going to bump it up to 4 stars too, because I don't do half stars.
I was like, how do you even come in at 3.5?
Isn't that good? What I did there? That was a little pivot. A little dance. No, I feel like I feel the same way. I think there is a lot of melodrama. This isn't a transformational film. It doesn't help me change the way I live my life day to day. But my goodness, it was fun to watch, and I could watch those umbrellas all day long. So 4 stars and a heart.
Yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful film. That averages out to 4 stars and a heart. You can find the show on Letterboxd at The Next Reel. You can find me there at Soda Creek Film, and Pete at Pete Wright. So what did you think about Shadow? We would love to hear your thoughts. Hop into the Show Talk channel over in our Discord community, where we will be talking about the movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Letterboxd giveth, Andrew.
As Letterboxd always doeth.
Okay, you got a short one. I got a long one. I'm going to go first.
I think I should go first, because you got the one that has a little more punch. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Mine is just, I think it just is something that we do need to keep in mind and remind filmmakers over here in the States. 4 stars by Joe A. If American modern action movies tried to look half as good at this as this, we would be in a much better place.
Oh, yeah. No, that's good.
Hear, hear. Absolutely, Joe.
Yeah. Okay, this comes from Cole, 4 stars and a heart. The thing about this movie is that at one point, a dude reveals he's got an umbrella that shoots batarangs. And I was like, yes, yeah. And then 2 minutes later, he reveals he has an army that has a bunch of umbrellas that shoot batarangs. And I was like, God damn. And then 90 seconds after that, everyone flips their umbrella over, sits on it, grabs a second one so that they're cocooned, and then they launch themselves into a city like human effing Beyblades. And I was like, oh, right. Zhang Yimou is the greatest director of all time. Outstanding, Cole.
Yeah.
4 stars and a heart. Outstanding.
I love it.
Thanks, Letterboxd.